Hello, everybody, and welcome to another 3 o'clock with SOC today on September 8th. Give me just a second so I can welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros y conectarse con nosotros en otro foro comunitario hoy el día 8 de septiembre. Como siempre, ustedes pueden escuchar el programa en español a través de una llamada de conferencia y el número es 646-749-3122 y el código para entrar es 779-328-221. And always keep in mind that you can access these videos after we have them live at 3 on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. So if you're unable to tune in right at 3, we always have those videos available for you after the fact. I'm Gabe Charles. I am the Civic Engagement Manager here with SOC. Happy to be with all of you. Hope you all had a lovely Labor Day weekend and did some reflecting on all of the achievements the labor movement has made throughout the years, and done some more reflecting on all there is still left to do to protect workers' rights. Our staff and our platforms are all available for you, minus in person. We are still staying safe as there are still high number of cases in the area that we serve, and we want to make sure everyone stays safe, including our staff. So we are not doing anything in person still, but you can reach us at our phone number, 414-672-8090, by email at soc@socmilwaukee.org, or you can look at our website where all of the information we have to offer, resources, and all types of information are on our website, www.socmilwaukee.org. We are past 100 episodes of this forum, and we are continuously looking for feedback from all of you about how it's been, what suggestions you have, what that can be suggestions for topics, ideas, things you see happening in the community. Whatever it is that you all want to hear about or learn about, we will try to make that happen. And you can let us know about that by filling out our SOC survey. And that survey is always shared in the comments of these forums. So you can always come back to any of the forums that are on our Facebook page to find that SOC survey link in there. And you can find it on our website as well. So please take some time to fill out that survey because we really do use that to make this forum everything that it can be for all of you. And also, just so everyone knows, we are working virtually. I myself am in the office today, but I am all alone, so I'm not wearing a mask. But if we had our staff working at the office, we would absolutely be adhering to wearing a mask and practicing social distancing. So we are encouraging all of you to do the same. We really want people to be safe, and we want things to go back to normal. We want kids to be able to go back to school, but we can only do that if everybody adheres to those precautions that the CDC recommends. So please wear a mask, please practice social distancing, and stay safe out there. It is a slow Tuesday for us here, but we want to know who's with us. We can see how many people are here, but we can't see who. So let us know that you're watching. Give us a like, give us a heart, put an emoji, a smiley face. Let us know you're here watching and give us a shout out, say hi. Let us know what you did this weekend. I myself got a lot of time outside, which is always lovely. But let us know what you did, say hi. Let us know that you're here watching. Also, I just want to share a disclaimer. The views and opinions shared today do not necessarily reflect those of SOC. As always, there are certain topics we can dive into and certain topics that we allow others to dive into. So keep that in mind. Today, we will have as a guest Melinda Hughes from the Benedict Center. Drea, one of our amazing staff, did an interview with her, so we'll be sharing that. And then the rest of the week, tomorrow we will have Voces de la Frontera on. Thursday, we'll have a couple different guests, Carmen Petrie from the Sojourner Family Peace Center and Mariana Rodriguez from the Latino Resource Center. And then Friday, we have Dr. Liston from Ubuntu Research, an amazing, amazing speaker, just always has amazing things to say. Really looking forward to hearing from those from those guests, especially Dr. Liston on Friday. So with that, I will go ahead and share the interview between Drea and Melinda Hughes from the Benedict Center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Rodriguez, and I'm the Leadership Coordinator at Southside Organizing Center. I have with us today Melinda Hughes, Program Director of the Sisters Diversion Program with the Benedict Center, and she's going to cover a little bit of information about what her program does. Thank you, Melinda.
Thanks, Drea. It's great to be with you and your viewers and listeners. We appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about the Sisters Program and the work that we're doing. So I'll just launch right into it. We help women in the street-based sex trade, and that includes women who are experiencing sex trafficking. We help them find hope and lead healthier, safer lives. Your viewers and listeners have probably heard that phrase, sex trafficking, and I imagine there's been some discussion at the community level about this issue. Milwaukee's known as a hub of sex trafficking. And certainly there are both youth and adults being exploited in that way in our neighborhoods and in our communities. So some confusion points that we've heard as we've been doing this work and working with our partner agencies is the idea, this idea of where does sex trade work end and where does sex trafficking begin? So we'll talk a little bit about that today. There's also this feeling or perception, mostly from the media, that a person would likely be beaten or held and locked in a room, and that's what trafficking sort of looks like, and that's the experience of trafficking. So we could talk about that a little bit too. And then this idea that the word prostitution and trafficking are sort of the same word, just mean the same thing, or if they're different, what are those differences? So we can talk about, I just wanted to bring those confusion points forward and hopefully we can sort those out together. So human trafficking in a nutshell is any sort of sex trade work that involves a minor. So any sex trade at all that involves a person under the age of 18 is by law sex trafficking. If it's an adult, then sex trade that involves any sort of force or fraud or coercion to get a person to do that sex work for someone else's profit is by law sex trafficking. So force is obvious, any sort of intimidation or threat of force or actual physical violence. Fraud is basically tricking and manipulating people into that work, or coercion, which is basically like leveraging something to make another person do what they want in exchange for something, like a landlord saying, you're late on your rent, you can stay and I won't evict you, but only if you perform this sexual act for me. Or I know you have a drug addiction and I will give you the drugs that you want, but you have to do X, Y, and Z sex work for me, and I get to keep the money and you get to have the drugs that you need. So any of those things are ways that somebody might coerce someone to do sex trade for their profit. And then anybody who traffics children it's a Class C felony in the state of Wisconsin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea.
A visual that helps us kind of really think about this and the coercion element and the power control dynamics, it really helps if you think about an abusive relationship, something like a domestic violence relationship. So it's all about keeping the other person in line and having them do what you want them to do, keeping them isolated, using threats, even implied violence or actual violence, emotional manipulation, keeping them dependent on you for their well-being, for their survival, for the roof over their head, and a lot of manipulation as well. So when we're working with folks, what we're looking for and kind of paying attention to is, do they have a sense of personal power and autonomy, meaning can they make their own decisions? Do they control their own money? Things like that. Is there any violence or threat of violence present? Is there that coercion and manipulation? And does the person have safety fears or threats that are being put towards them? If not, if there's none of those things are present, then it's probably not a sex trafficking situation. So that would be, if they're doing sex trade work and none of those elements are there, it could be considered what people call prostitution. We do look at, do they have to share their money? Do they feel safe? And will they be in trouble if they decide not to do the sex work? Lastly, just want to kind of talk about the services that we offer. We both do outreach and go out to the women on the streets trying to connect with them and offer resources. And we have 2 drop-in centers, one of which is on the south side at 2nd and Orchard. And we also have one on the north side at 23rd and Fond du Lac. All of our services are free and confidential. And we have sort of a list here of all the different types of help and work that we offer our clients, and our counselors and case managers are doing this work with folks every day. We can talk more about that as we go on with the series, but I wanted to kind of put out the types of work that someone has the option to engage in.
Excellent. Thank you so much for giving that overview for all of our guests, or viewers rather. I was wondering if you could shed a little bit more light on what a Class C felony means for the viewers that don't understand that.
Well, it is a felony charge, so the penalties can be quite strict. It does take, the Sensitive Crimes Unit pursues most of these charges and cases, and they refer them to the attorneys at the district attorney's office or the state's attorney's office. And I'm not, you can't quote me on the specific length of time that someone faces, but a felony charge is a significant charge for this particular crime.
Exactly, it's quite severe. And I'm also very grateful for the Benedict Center for being so available for the 3 o'clock with SOC forum. And I'm excited that we're going to be able to have you on again monthly, twice a month actually, so we can talk about those 10 areas of emphasis going forward. So thank you so much, Melinda. We appreciate you. Any last minute calls to action for our viewers today?
It's starting to be cooler weather, especially at night. So about half of our clients are either homeless or precariously housed or don't have solid housing. So we're starting to collect small personal size blankets or sleeping bags for our clients that are going to be out in the cold overnight.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that so much, and we'll make sure that we do a post about that this week so we can remind all of our viewers and all of our partners out there.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really grateful for that interview. It's always important to have a breakdown of a very complex issue, and that was just a lot of knowledge shared. So thank you for that. Let's see who has said hi. We've got Maria, hola, Diana, ¿cómo están ustedes? And that's all who has said hi for now, but if anyone else has tuned in since then, please let us know that you're here. Give us a like, give us a heart, give us a smiley face, lo que sea. Let us know that you're here watching. For the coronavirus segment today, I'm going to share an interview that Marlene did with Dr. Arana from the 16th Street Clinic. So give me a second and I will share that.
It's important to stay healthy. So you know what's something that you can do at home that doesn't require you to be around a lot of people? You can take the census.
Sorry, that was the census video. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to do that. Give me just 1 second. Why isn't it? There we go. Here we go.
Hi everyone. So today we're going to be talking about COVID-19 specifically. We're talking about schools and kids returning to school and what happens if my child gets COVID-19. And we're talking with Dr. Arana, and she's going to be giving us the answers to that. She is from 16th Street Clinic. So Dr. Arana, our first question for you is it safe for kids to return to school?
Thank you for having me today, Marlene. I want to talk to the community about this very important topic today, going back to school during this COVID-19 pandemic. Is it safe? It depends on each community. Okay, we have to really keep in mind that each community is different. We have to keep watching the data. We have different dashboards at the Milwaukee Health Department. We know the prevalence of COVID-19. We know the percentage of positives based on zip codes, and it depends where your school is located. So the schools are in contact with the health department. We are planning a really safe back to school because the cases are still at high percentage positives. Most schools, as you know, are going to start virtual. But once we get ready for that hybrid model where some kids can be in person at the schools and some kids are going to be virtual, we are going to make sure that that's safe, and the schools have very strong plans for the kids to be safe when they go back to school. No scenario is perfect, okay? The schools and the health departments, they do best we can to offer the safest situation at the school, but we know that when kids go back to school, we're going to see more cases of COVID-19, as we see cold, runny noses, sore throats every season. It's just going to happen. We just want to make back to school as safe as we can.
Right. Is the clinic, 16th Street Clinic, working together with the school system to help with testing and treatment of students with COVID-19?
We've been in contact with some schools in the community. We've been in contact with the health department, and we are in communication, and we are aware of what the schools are going to be opening, and most are going to be opening in a virtual mode. And we are here to support back to school. If those kids have any screening positive, if they have symptoms, 16th Street Clinic welcomes all those students to be tested here at the clinic at the 20th Street location.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys are doing a lot of great work in the community.
Thank you.
So what are the most important things my family can do to protect our kids and others at risk, and other at-risk family members if my kids go back to school? I don't have.
Probably the most important thing, and you have heard that before, but I'm going to say it again, we have to wear masks. Any child 2 years old and older can wear a mask, and we should wear a mask. We know that this virus is transmitted through droplets. When we talk, when we laugh, when we speak, when we sing, those droplets, or when we're coughing or sneezing, those droplets go from one person to another. So it's very important that we are all wearing masks. The other one, the other aspect that is super important is the physical distance. 6 feet or more is ideal for one person to
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So since that was happening, we're going to play some civic videos for you guys until Gabe can figure out what's happening with her internet connection.
It's important to stay healthy. So you know what's something that you can do at home that doesn't require you to be around a lot of people? You can take the census. And it doesn't matter if you're into politics or not. It doesn't matter what language you speak. No importa si no tiene papeles. If you live in the United States, you need to take the census.
Okay, but like, what is it? What is the census?
Here's how it works. Every 10 years, the government counts every single person living in the United States. This includes citizens, non-citizens, babies, abuelitas, literally everyone. If you haven't already, you will receive a notification in the mail from the US Census Bureau, at which time you can fill out the census online. Even if you haven't gotten a notification, you can still fill out the census over the internet. Don't have internet? No problem. You can fill out the census by mail and over the phone. The best part of it is you don't have to leave your home.
What kind of questions do they ask?
The census asks basic questions like name, sex, age, race, or ethnicity, how many people live in your home, how they're related to one another, whether you rent or own, and that's pretty much it. Now, we get it. Nobody likes doing paperwork. Paperwork sucks. But you gotta remember, this paperwork takes 10 minutes to complete and will decide what happens to our neighborhoods for the next 10 years.
So why is it important for me to be counted?
Here are two reasons. It's important because it affects our political power. The House of Representatives has 435 seats. Because these seats are divided up by population, the census determines the number of seats your state gets in the House. After every census, adjustments are made. After the 2010 census, states like Texas gained 4 seats in the House, while states like New York and Ohio lost 2. The census not only affects the House of Representatives, but it reshapes the Electoral College. You know, the system that decides presidential elections. Census data is also used to redraw state and local legislative districts to better reflect shifting populations. So, you don't want to lose seats in the House of Representatives, and you don't want to lose your political power just because you decided to sit this one out. The census determines how public services in our communities get funded. The government uses the census to decide how much money should go to state and local governments. That money is then used to fund public services like schools, hospitals, roads, senior centers, and other public utilities. It's really hard for the government to plan where they should put schools and hospitals if they don't know how many people live in that neighborhood. There have been instances where states do not get the funding for these vital services because they fail to meet the population requirement for certain federal funds. Take Circle Pines, Minnesota, for example. They were 82 people shy of the 5,000 population requirement to qualify for certain federal road funds. 82 people. The point is, if you don't make yourself counted, you're potentially losing money for your community, and that pothole down the street will never get fixed. The census will affect our political power. It will affect our elections. It will affect our daily lives for the next 10 years. That's the power of the census. And if we don't participate, we're putting our communities at risk.
So what you're saying is I can fill out the census, contribute to my community's political representation, financial future, and important demographic data for the next decade without ever having to leave my house?
Exactamente. So remember, wash your hands for 20 seconds, stay at home if you can, and make yourself counted in 2020. Because this is about the future of our families, our communities, and our country for the next 10 years.
So it appears that I lost my connection earlier, so that is why the coronavirus video stopped sharing. I hope you did get a lot of the video. I don't know where it left off. We can play the rest of it after the next feature, so I can figure out where it stopped sharing. But I will give us a quick civic update for everybody. And actually, speaking of the census, there was a resolution passed at the Common Council meeting last week that touches on the census. So there was actually a resolution that passed that directs all city departments to ask individuals calling the city for non-emergency services whether they have received and completed their 2020 census form. So this is just now a citywide effort to make sure that everyone is getting counted. We are still seeing really low response rate despite people being out in the field, knocking on doors, standing at different businesses, at tables to make sure people can access filling out the census that way at different markets and things. But yeah, so this is a great effort to try to get more people counted so that we can get those response rates up. We're still, in most areas of the South Side, still 10% under what we reported last decade. So 10 years ago, we are still more than 10% away from reaching the same rate of response. So please fill out the census. Make sure you're encouraging others to fill out the census. And especially in the heart of the South Side, please be calling friends and family that you know in those areas to be filling out the census. Something else that happened at last week's Common Council meeting was a resolution that would increase the amount of locations for absentee ballot boxes for in-person absentee ballot locations, so early voting. And I announced those last week, but Miller Park and the Pfizer Forum will now be used as early voting locations to expand the space that there is for people to maintain social distancing and to have a drive-through early voting location, and that will be Miller Park. So those were two major things that came out of the Common Council meeting last week. And then looking forward this week, we've got a busy week with meetings. Today at 9 a.m. there was a licenses committee meeting. And then tonight at 5:30, there will be a Board of Health meeting. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., there are two different meetings. There's Administrative Review Appeals Board meeting and a Public Works Committee meeting. Then at 1:30 tomorrow, there's a Community and Economic Development Committee meeting. Tomorrow at 4 p.m., there's an Equal Rights Commission meeting. Then moving on to Thursday at 1:30 p.m., there's a Housing Authority meeting. And at the same time at 1:30 on Thursday, there's a Steering and Rules Committee meeting. At 2 p.m. on Thursday, there's an Ethics Board Investigation Committee meeting. And then we have at 5:30, the Fire and Police Commission Testing and Recruiting Committee meeting on Thursday. And then finally, on Friday at 10 a.m., there will be a Citizen Anti-Displacement Advisory Committee. So that's going to be a really interesting week, a lot going on. Please try to tune into some of those meetings if you're able to, especially about anti-displacement. We know that that's a huge issue given all of the evictions that are happening or have happened. So try to tune into some of those meetings. And actually, speaking of evictions, we do have a feature from Pedro Hernandez from the Legal Aid Society. So we will go ahead and play what he has for us.
Now I'd like to introduce Pedro Hernandez. He's a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Milwaukee. He's going to be talking about the new eviction moratorium and, any other updates that we have for today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, Pedro. Always great to have you on. I'm just going to introduce you. I have introduced you, but you can take the floor from here and say what you have to say about the new update.
Sure. As some of you probably know already, if you guys have seen on Facebook or on the news so far, there is a new eviction moratorium that will be coming down or taking effect hopefully tomorrow from the Center for Disease Control through an order that they're giving that does not take effect until it is published in the Federal Register, which it is scheduled to be published tomorrow, September 4th. This order basically applies to just about all residential renters in Wisconsin, but it's very different from the older federal moratorium, which only protected people that were in properties that were federally backed by in financing or some type of mortgage. So I think the most important thing that you have to remember with the new moratorium that's going to take effect, hopefully by tomorrow, is that it is not automatic. You have to fill out a declaration form, which organizations like Legal Aid Society of Milwaukee will have available on their websites, and that you should talk to an attorney about to fill it out, because this declaration form makes sure that you qualify for it. And the things that you have to the requirements that are needed for you to qualify for the new moratorium include: you have to declare or testify under perjury, under penalty of perjury, so under oath basically, that you use your best efforts to obtain all government assistance about renting or housing. That includes rent assistance like the emergency rent assistance at like UMOS, or RAP funds that the Social Development Corporation has, or I'm forgetting, or like the rent assistance programs that Community Advocates has. You have to test that you tried that and it didn't work. You also have to attest, or basically testify, that you will make less than $99,000 this year, or if you're a joint filer with your couple, spouse, $198,000 for 2020. Or you got a stimulus check under the CARES Act, or weren't required to report your income in 2019. As you can see, these are pretty large margins for those of us that live on the South Side, and that's why it covers a lot of people that live in the state of Wisconsin, and particularly in Milwaukee and in the South Side. Also, you have to testify that you're unable to pay the full rent because of substantial loss of work, because of changes in hours and income or work, or also extraordinary out-of-pocket medical expenses. For that means that you have to prove that the medical expenses are so large that it is about 7.5% of your income. And a lawyer or some social worker should be able to help you figure out if your medical expenses this year come out to that. Furthermore, you have to testify on that declaration, that form, which the order provides and which organizations like Legal Aid have copies of, or have made their own versions of, that you are making the best efforts to make timely partial payments. You're at least trying to make the payments that you can right now. And that an eviction would likely leave you homeless or force you to live in a setting like a homeless shelter, because there is a lack of available housing options in the area that would not increase your housing costs. So basically that there is no cheaper rental option that wouldn't leave you homeless. So again, like I said, this declaration includes a form that you can use, but again, organizations like Legal Aid are working on creating English, Spanish versions of it so that it is available for everybody. And also important to note is that you cannot lie on these declarations. You cannot be caught lying just because there is a penalty of perjury. And those who violate this order, whether it be the tenant or the landlord, could face criminal penalties. But here's what the moratorium doesn't do. We talked about the requirements, and also knowing that it basically stops landlords from taking action to remove you or cause to remove you in an eviction, not simply just filing an eviction. So arguably what us housing defense attorneys can try to argue in court right now, based off of the letter of the law, is that if you have an active writ or an active judgment against you and have not been evicted, we may try to argue, based off of the language of the law right now, that even those evictions have to be stopped under the order as soon as it's published. So it's something to get on top of if you can, as fast as you can. But what this moratorium doesn't do, it doesn't relieve you from your obligation to pay rent. The rent will accumulate. And when this order is done, which it is scheduled to be done if it takes effect, when it takes effect and you qualify, this order goes through December 31st, 2020. So on January 1st, all that old rent is going to be owed. All those late fees and penalties are going to be owed. Also, it doesn't prevent evictions for other reasons like breaching some other provision of your contract or lease. It doesn't affect foreclosures. So if you're being evicted because of foreclosure, it won't affect you, unfortunately. It won't protect you, likely. And then also, it does not protect people that are residing in basically hotels, motels, rooming houses, and those kinds of properties. But you should talk to an attorney just to make sure whether or not your rooming house falls under the state definition of a rooming house. As always, if you have questions or need more information, please contact us at Legal Aid, and please reach out to your community organizations to make sure that you have the assets necessary to help avoid an eviction and be able to pay your rent. But again, this is a new eviction moratorium that should be starting tomorrow. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us and reach out to your other organizations in order to help you. That's all I have right now.
Well, thank you so much, Pedro. Just quickly, is there a cost for this?
A what?
A cost if someone reaches out to your organization? Is there a
Sure.
cost?
As always, Legal Aid Society of Milwaukee is a nonprofit legal service that is free of charge if you qualify based on our income guidelines, and also that there are no conflicts with our current or past clients. We are an organization that represents people regardless of legal status. And that is something I forgot to note. For my people, the undocumented population of Milwaukee should be protected under this simply because it does not differentiate between those that have legal status or don't. For instance, the income just says you won't make more than $99,000 this year, not necessarily that you have to have filed. That doesn't look like that's in the order right now. But so we can argue for undocumented folks too in this case.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Pedro. You guys can reach out to Legal Aid Society at 728 North James Lovell Street. You can also call 414-727-5300. And we also have Pedro's information in the comment section as well. You can call his office at 414-727-5370. Or you can email him at PATRNANDEZ@lasmilwaukee.com for information and if you need their help.
Thank you.
Really, really important information about eviction moratoriums and all of the legal jargon that was hopefully explained a little bit for everybody. I do have the coronavirus video back up, so hopefully I won't be disconnected again. Let's give it a try. I will share my screen and then we will see.
Thank you for that. How come everyone that's 2 years and older has to wear a mask?
Because we have determined that it's safer if the child is 2 years and older. When they are little and they are younger than 2, it's going to be really uncomfortable or really difficult to ask a toddler to keep the mask on, and they are going to be touching it all the time. And remember, we want to put the mask in place. We don't want to be touching it all the time. We don't want to share the mask. So for a toddler, for someone younger than 2, it's going to be impossible to keep the mask in place. So we think it's not practical, it's not useful to try to reinforce that. And kids 2 and older, they are able to understand a little bit better. Remember, they do what they see. If they see mom and dad wearing a mask, they are going to do the same. If they see you washing your hands often, they are going to do the same. If they see you that you're keeping a distance between another person and you when you are shopping, they can learn from watching what the parents do. So that's really important. We are role models for those young kids. kids, when they get this COVID-19 infection, they have a mild infection, but we do know that they can transmit the infection. And that's, I think, a positive side, that we are not seeing too many cases of complicated COVID-19 disease in children. One aspect that we have learned about this disease is that some children can get what is called the multi-inflammatory syndrome, where they get high fevers for many days and they can have a very severe inflammatory process. And that happens rarely in children. Most recover without any complications. But they can transmit the virus to household members, to grandma, grandpa, or to someone that has any chronic disease at home. And that's why we are concerned about kids sharing the virus and then transmission at the schools or the transmission back home. That's our concern with going back to school.
Yeah. So then who is at risk of serious complications with COVID-19?
At risk, if we talk about children, it would be any children with special needs, children that has complex medical diagnosis, or children that have any congenital or any complicated medical diagnosis. In adults, we know that obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure are markers of higher risk to have, for that patient to have a complicated COVID-19.
And then how long should, or can a child that it has a family member that is sick that they live with, can they go to school or should they stay home? And how long should they stay home if they have to?
Once someone is positive in that house, we recommend that household members, everyone can get tested, and everyone needs to be in isolation for at least 14 days. In some cases, in some families, it might be that as some members recover, there are others who start getting sick. And based on different cases, in some families may need to be up to 24 days in isolation because someone is recovering and someone starts with the disease. We provide that guidance on a case by case, but at minimum is the isolation 14 days at home.
Yeah, well, this is just so much good information. I'm sure these are questions that have been on a lot of parents' minds, especially with the thought of things being a hybrid and then the idea of going back into school in person. So it's good to know that you all are in communication with the school systems and with the health department for these conversations to continue about how is the best way to behave oneself with their kids and with their family members. We'll leave it at that for today, but thank you so much for coming on with us. Any last thoughts on anything to do with COVID-19 or specifically with schools?
Just one comment, that this season more than ever, it's very important that we all get our flu shot. We should be getting the first flu shots available soon in the community. And we don't have a vaccine for COVID-19 yet. You know, there are different vaccines that are under research projects, and we are not sure at what point COVID-19 vaccine will be available. But we have a flu vaccine, and we don't want to have both. We don't want to get flu and to get COVID-19. So let's protect ourselves. We should all get the flu vaccine as soon as we're able.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so I heard it might have frozen again. Hopefully you got to see the majority of that video with tons of important information for parents leading into this hybrid learning. I know we're all virtual now. And by the way, happy first day of school to many students out there today. It's going to be a very strange semester, just like last semester was, but sending lots of good energy, good vibes to all of you to get through this virtual learning phase and just continue to stay safe and practice social distancing and wear those masks. And hopefully soon enough, we will be back in schools so that you can be with your friends again. But yeah, other than that, I just want to remind you what's coming up the rest of this week. Tomorrow we have someone from Voces de la Frontera coming on, and Thursday we'll have Carmen Petrie from the Sojourner Family Peace Center and Mariana Rodriguez from the Latino Resource Center. And then Friday, Dr. Monique Liston from Ubuntu Research and Evaluation. So you don't want to miss those days. We're going to have some really great guests for you, really great conversations as usual. So stay with us the rest of this week, and I will leave you with a video thanking our funders and all of you very special, beautiful people.
Hello, SOC viewers. My name is Isaiah, and I'm a youth organizer for SOC. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC surveys. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would like to thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, NEO Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign of Human Development, the Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tide Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all the faithful individuals who support SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.